Before you do your intro, packed house already, by the way.
Of course it's a packed house. We're going bowling, baby. We're going
already.
bowling. And when Joe Villapiano and Steve Cully come together with Dave Schuman, what you going to do? What are you going to do when the best team in Husky Nation runs wild on you?
I would find that flattering, except you probably say that on every podcast. So
I absolutely do not say it on every podcast. I said it because I had a portrait painted for me by a former UConn alum of Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. And he did a fantastic job. Robert McLean, I'll give him all the credit in the world.
Player, yeah.
He probably thought I was nuts because, he said he paints. And I said, oh, I'd love to get a painting done. And he said, okay, well, what do you want to get done? And I pull up a picture of two grown, sweaty men in their underwear hugging each other, basically. Hulk Hogan and the Warrior.
With knee pads on.
He had to have thought I was nuts. But no judging. No judging. As long as the money was good, he was okay with it. And he got it, and he did a great job, and he got it done in 2 weeks. And I put it on Facebook, and
is that what you've been showing the whole time? This thing you're tagging me in with the painting?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
You've been showing me the whole time.
I'm like, what the hell does he keep tagging me in?
It's beautiful. If you look at it, he did a great job.
I thought it was.
You see it on, you gotta
I didn't realize that you had Robert McLean paint that for you.
That's what he does now.
I thought it was so. No. I know that he paints.
Okay.
I didn't read the whole diatribe that you wrote. So because you write a diatribe every single time, it's like it's a fucking novel. It's a goddamn novel that you write every time. So I can't read the novel every single time. I just saw two wrestlers basically hugging in a picture, and I was like, is this some sort of like bizarre? I just didn't want to touch it, so I didn't know what was going on. Didn't post it, did not acknowledge it.
I know you did. Yeah,
now I do understand.
There was no response. There was no questions.
I have no idea. I just stayed away from it.
Well, Joe knows that I'm a huge wrestling fan.
I didn't know if all of a sudden you were voting for Kamala or something.
No. I'll do something like that. Although my friend was slightly put off by it, but
I didn't know what to make of it.
Maybe I'm a strong lever. Who knows?
I didn't know if I should briefly defriend you or something, but
Dave, both of my kids have Hulkamania T-shirts from Uncle Cully.
They do,
yeah, and they love them.
The Hulkster is the great. It was the Hulkster and it was the Ultimate Warrior. Was that the other guy you had on?
The Warrior wasn't the best guy later in life.
No. Listen, I love wrestling. It was great. I just didn't understand the picture at first. The theme.
Yeah, I had my favorite wrestlers, and I found a picture, and I thought it was perfect for a portrait. And Robert did it for me in less than 2 weeks, and it will.
All right. So if you're a true Hulkster fan, what was the character that Hulk played in Rocky?
Oh, Thunderlips.
Okay. All right. I have to get a hold of it.
I know everything.
About
Hulk
I'm going to dig deeper.
Everything. I know his birth date.
Did you have the WWE characters back in the day? The WWE?
Yes, the LGN ones, the big rubber ones. Yes.
Yep, I had those. Yep.
I had all of them. I had T-shirts. In high school when he was a bad guy, I had all the NWO.
When he was what was that, WCW or something?
Yeah, he was in WCW. I had all the bad guy stuff. I used to dress up with the bandana and the sunglasses.
Have you ever seen the roaster, the kid that does the Hulkamania impression?
No, and I don't want to.
He's great, dude.
He roasts him?
No, he's called the Roaster, not the.
Okay.
Roster. I don't know what his first name is, but
he imitates him.
He does, dude. He's unbelievable. He's like 7 or 8, or maybe younger,
Oh, okay.
He comes up. There's a video. He comes up to the Hulk at like one of these shows where he's like signing,
yeah.
And he goes up to the Hulk. He's talking like him, and he rips his shirt off. It's great. It's great.
I did that. They came to the Hartford Civic Center, and I was with the guys. And number one, we tailgated, which was very unusual in the parking garage of the Hartford Civic Center before the wrestling. And this is when Hogan made his return in 2002. He won the championship, and we had horrible seats. Because I bought them at the last second. We were sitting behind the Jumbotron, or the Titantron, as they call it now. And you could see the wrestlers before they went on air. So they went to a commercial break, and Hogan came out. He was getting ready to go on. And as soon as I saw him, I ran down to the balcony, and I started screaming to him, "Hulkster, I love you, Hulkamania. I'm the biggest Hulkamaniac ever. Hulkamania live forever. Hogan, I'll take a bullet for you." And he turned back and he looked at me and he just started shaking his head. And then I ripped my shirt off. And then my friends wanted to leave because the audience was taking pictures of me.
That's hilarious, dude. That's.
I've only gotten to see him wrestle twice, but that was a good one.
That's phenomenal, dude.
Yeah. So,
all right, that's a great story, dude. That now I understand the whole picture thing. Now it makes sense to me.
Well, if you ask a person who's the one, if you go in history and you can have dinner with one person in history, living or dead, who would it be? Most people say Jesus or FDR or something.
Right.
I would say Hulk Hogan.
Who would that be for you, Villapiano?
Man. Well, when Cully brought that up, I was immediately thought about like one person I'd like to play golf with, and that was Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah.
Would have dinner with? I don't know.
That's a good answer. Very good.
Hey, you know who grew up in my town is Bam Bam Bigelow. He's from Ocean.
Bam. That's right. Because all right. So I'm going to tell you this. So I was a head coach at RBR from 2019 and 2020, and the weight coach, he had been on the staff before me, is Bam Bam Bigelow's son. He was the shot put coach. Great guy. Oh gosh, what's his first name?
I forgot his name. He played with my cousin at Ocean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, his father.
Great dude though. Great dude.
Bam Bam was a hero.
He might still coach the weights there at RBR. I'm not sure, but
he used to call me Grapehead. He was good friends with my uncle, and he would call me Grapehead.
Bam Bam is a hero. He saved 2 kids from a burning fire.
No way.
Yeah. Yep. In 2005, I think it is. And then, unfortunately, he passed afterwards.
Yeah.
In 2008, I'm not sure exactly. But I was a huge wrestling fan. Unfortunately, not unfortunately. I'm a proud wrestling fan.
A lot of people are huge wrestling fans.
Yeah, but not when they're 40.
I don't know. I think you might find. Why do you think Trump marches out Hulk Hogan? I mean, come on.
Listen, nobody can captivate a crowd and work a crowd like Hulk Hogan. Nobody has his charisma.
Is it still entertaining like it used to be, man? I remember those guys talking, like their interviews were gold.
It's not as entertaining as it used to be. The in-ring matches are way, way more athletic, but they're also way, way more choreographed to where it doesn't look like a fight anymore.
Got it.
But I mean, I still watch it religiously. But it's not like it was in the 80s with the larger than life characters who were all juiced up on steroids and everything. Now it's toned down. It's more PG. But I mean, I'll be a lifelong fan.
Very interesting. We just learned something great about you, Cully.
Well, I'll say so we can start. This is Husky Huddle, and the man himself, Coach Schuman, and joining us, the man played with me at UConn, coached at Harvard, and offensive coordinator at Cornell, Joe Villapiano. Joseph, thank you again for coming on.
Always good, guys. We're on a win streak, man. So if we keep winning, I'm keep coming on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was
if you lose, you're out. That's great. It's not my fault. No way, man. I can't be involved in that. That's great. I love it.
Very superstitious. Very superstitious.
That's smart. It's smart.
It was. I was there. It was a better game as far as they started fast, but they let Georgia State hang around, which I was disappointed at. They could have put them away several times.
What was it about what they did in this game that you thought was really good, and what was it that you didn't like?
Well, they ran the pistol quite a bit. I like that they ran the pistol more. They still ran. I didn't like the outside zone, but it did break a few times. They ran my formation, the tight end and the dead tight end and trips, but they were running the outside zone to the field where I thought they had numbers to run it to the tight end. It's a lot harder to run to the field, but it broke a few times. And Mel Brown was unbelievable. It was Mel Brown's week as far as the running backs go. Robinson didn't have as good of a game, and Cam, I think, is still just a little beat up. But they have three that are all very, very talented in different ways, which I think helps. I'm just very concerned with the passing game because 75 yards passing is not going to beat like Syracuse. It's not going to beat the better opponents. It was windy, so I understand why you wouldn't throw the ball as much, but I would have liked to have seen Nick ran the ball well. I mean, he pulled on the zone read stuff. He ran the ball well. He scrambled a little bit. He got down, he protected himself. I just would like to see the passing game improve. Skylar Bell get the ball a little bit more. They went 12 personnel quite a bit, which I was happy with. And they were knocking them around up front. They were getting good looks. And it was frustrating because defensively they were struggling to stop Georgia State. Georgia State's quarterback played very well. And Georgia State, I think, played three or four different quarterbacks. They did some wildcat. They put in a quarterback to run a sneak, and then they had their regular quarterback. So they had a really good wide receiver. It was number 16. I'm trying to check. Yeah, it was Ted Hurst. He had 7 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown and a long of 45. He was really good. Freddie Brock ran the ball pretty well. He was 10 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown. And then I believe it was, Zach Gibson was the quarterback. He also scored a touchdown on a scramble. So that was just defensively. They didn't perform like usual. He was subbing quite a bit. That's what Burton pointed out. They were rotating almost series per series personnel. It looked like maybe 8 guys. They were trying to keep everyone fresh. So I don't know the schematics behind that, but they ran the ball very, very well inside zone. They ran outside zone, and they ran nakeds. They ran probably 4 nakeds. But as Joe mentioned, it's not as good out of the pistol because you don't get as much flow. So that defensive end was in his face pretty fast. But he got the ball out, and they scored on one of them. And they had a couple other good plays on nakeds, and then I think one of them got blown up. But it's just the passing game. I think they recognize that Nick. They're trying to give him positive plays to build his confidence, and I hope they can grow off of this and add some more into it. But Joe, I mean, what did you think as far as the passing game went?
Yeah, I think I think that they threw the ball 16 times, so that I think is not a lot of times because they ran the ball so well. But the thing that I used to say as the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach is if we can have our quarterback throw the ball 25 or less times, then that is a good sign. So 16 times is a very good sign. That means they really pounded the ball, they possessed it, swallowed it, kept just kept the ball out of the opponent's hands, which I thought was really good. And he was 10 for 16, so he was definitely more efficient. They added in some like we talked about, some spacing concepts. I'd like to see them do a little bit more, those quick game concepts, spacing, snag, stick. Is there like a echo going on there?
Just a little bit. Hold on.
All right.
But you're good.
Okay. Yeah. So those things I think can just help him again stay on schedule. But they got themselves into a lot more third and shorts, and they ran the ball very well and very efficient on those downs. So it kept him from having to throw the ball 30 to 40 times, which I thought was really good, and a really good change this week. And those nakeds that you're talking about, Cully, those are RPOs. So that's like the new en vogue thing now is
really.
Yeah, so you're running an RPO with routes, so he can hand the ball.
Oh, okay. I did. Yeah. Okay, so that's why it didn't look like elephants on parade. They were blocking it like inside zone.
Their zone combos up to the linebackers.
Oh, okay.
He's just pulling. But I thought that was a great thing. Just talking schematically, Georgia State was running a lot of man coverage. So what somebody has to cover that tight end. And when, we call it zone bluff, when he's going backside and bluffing the defensive end into the flat, somebody has to run with him, and they weren't running with him. So that's why that guy was open all day. And nice little chunk plays, easy completions. They were getting, 7-8 yards a clip. They did get, they got caught on one, but they scored a touchdown on it, a couple first downs on it. So I thought that was really good design and, game planning from those guys.
Yeah, I agree as well. The game plan seemed much more streamlined. It seemed, they weren't trying to do too much. They kept everything basic, and they stuck with Mel Brown. Mel Brown is a different style than Darrell Robinson and Cam Edwards. He can make moves. He's quick. He's good in space, and he's small. You can't really see him, but he can get through those holes. He doesn't have the power, but he's got the speed. I think he may be the fastest out of the 3 that they have, which made the difference. I mean, he averaged almost 10 yards a carry. I mean, he was running hard, and he was fast, and he was making people miss. And the line did a great job getting a good push. I was wrong. The left guard is the backup. The right guard is healthy. The right tackle is the guy who's excellent, who's a Butkus Award candidate or whatever. The left tackle is actually German, and he's coming along. He's doing well. So they're better up front. Our friend Terry McLaury, I'm going to call him out. Terry still believes that Joe Figiano should be starting and gives us a better chance to win. I am not in that boat just yet. After seeing Duke, how well they played this week, and we played Duke tough, I think that Evers is going to be the guy, and they'll bring someone in. I mean, they have the top quarterback in the state of Virginia coming in as a true freshman. Mike said that I think they have 7 commits right now. I don't know how many they're going to take for freshmen, and then what they're going to do in the transfer portal. And then obviously he was telling me some of the schools do 4-year NIL deals, which we have not done yet, which I think is good. But it's gonna move in that direction eventually, where we're gonna have to do 4-year NIL deals with some of these kids. I know that obviously Skylar Bell is going to be someone who's going to want a little bit of a raise. I don't know if Evers is going to want a raise, but that's going to be the conundrum going forward. And he's hopeful. They were looking at the bowl games that we could possibly get into. There's a bowl in the Bahamas, which would be great. There's a couple Florida bowls. They were already excited about that because Mike is going down to UAB. He's going down to UAB to watch that, and then he'll watch the UMass game. I don't know if he's going to make Syracuse or not, but I mean we really should end up with 8 wins. I mean, we looked at the schedule before the season, and I think we said that 8 wins was a definite possibility. I think I said over under was 6, so we got the 6. Dave, what were your thoughts?
I think that I thought they played well offensively. I thought they ran the ball well. I'm not sold on Nick Evers at all. I mean, when I see his passing yards and like he's kind of like middle of the road at both things. I think we don't face really many good teams, so that's good. We don't face a super high level schedule, but so it gives them time. But I just don't see like someone who gets the passing game, like someone who really, really, has expansive abilities there right now. I'm not saying he can't get there. I'm just saying it doesn't seem like that to me. I don't know if, like I said, last week I said, they got him some quick throws, those kind of things, like Joe talked about. I think that's important to get him confidence. I'm sure going 10 for 16 probably gets him a little more confidence. Maybe each week he begins to expand. I mean, I see numbers like passing yards wise, it's always so low.
Yeah.
I don't know, today's game, like it just seems to me that there's a lot of guys out there that throw for a lot of yards. I don't know if that's Joe maybe can help with answer this better than me. He's coaching college for a long time, and he's coached a lot of quarterbacks. And I wonder if like there are just guys that just have a better knack for being able to gain yards in the passing game and be able to drive the ball down the field. Like there are guys that make it look easy. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm saying they make it look like they throw guys open. They make it and they pile up the yards. And there's some guys that you watch them throw and you're like, geez, it seems like everything is like forced and like very difficult to get yards down the field. And it's like, you see that sometimes in the NFL, even with pro QBs, like some of these guys are phenomenal. And sometimes you see guys that are starters, you're like, this guy's not going to last much longer as a starter. Like he barely can push the ball down the field, right? I don't know. That's what it looks like to me, without being there all the time. I mean, some of it may be the scheme. I'm curious what Joe's thoughts are on that, because that's the thing that I notice, like as a observer watching the game is that it just seems like a struggle to push the ball down the field.
Yeah, and I watched Joe, and Joe's absolutely right with the timing of his footwork. His footwork is not in sync with some of the route combinations that they run. And I think, like Joe said, that is why he's having accuracy issues, and he's only completing 52% of his passes. His footwork, his hips, he needs work. And you got to remember, I mean, this was really his fourth game playing.
But I wonder if there's like a knack to it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like there are some guys that like. That's why I'm pushing the question kind of to Joe on that, because I haven't watched a lot of football, coached a lot of football, albeit at the high school level. There are guys that I coached that could throw for a boatload of yards and push the ball down the field. And there are kids that I coached that it was like, man, it was struggling to push the ball down the field, and I feel like my scheme was never that radically different. It was just some guys that threw it a little better on time, got the guys open, could push the ball down the field and complete it. I don't know. That's why I'm asking Joe.
Yeah, I think you're right on. We talked about that last week, just the footwork, and the footwork leads to bad timing. Bad timing leads to inaccurate balls, being late in particular, which is never good, especially at the college level. It's not good. But I think the thing that we praised him about last week was his fade balls. And then this week they were not good. He threw one 5 yards out of bounds. And then the next one he threw like 3 yards inside that almost got picked. It should have. So he was very inconsistent. And Cully, you said there was wind there. It's just there's not a consistency like you guys were saying. It's 50-50 right down the middle, whether it's 1 week he's doing great on the fade balls. They took those glances and those digs out of the game plan for this week, which I thought was good. And they, decided to focus more on the fades and the flats. I thought he threw some very good flat balls, but you got to be able to throw a flat ball if you're a college quarterback. Let's be honest here. But the fade balls were not there for him yesterday, and if he does complete a couple of them, that's where you get up into the 100, 200, 300 yards, and it just wasn't there for him.
It's like when you watch like the old school Louisiana Tech teams back in the day, right? Like it didn't matter what guy they had in there. The guy would throw for acres. They win 8 games, like they're kind of playing a similar schedule to what we play, right? So, and they push the ball down the field. You see that with obviously Mike Leach was a brilliant coach as far as in the passing game, but quarterback after quarterback, throws for acres of yards. Like it seems to me that either there's an understanding that certain guys have of the game or ability to make decisions. What makes that quarterback be able? Is it decision making? Like we talked a little bit about footwork. And I think that's important. Obviously, those are things that have to continue to improve. Those are potentially fixable things. But the knack for delivering the ball on time accurately, that what made for UConn, for example, what made Shane Stafford take the other guys' jobs that were there ahead of him, right? And then all of a sudden he was able to throw for all kinds of yards. What made him special and be able to push the ball? When he would come in, we'd be like, man, we know what ball's being pushed down the field, right? And when other guys were in, they were good. It wasn't that they weren't good, but they couldn't put the ball down the field, couldn't move the ball, right? Probably similar to what like Dan Orlovsky was able to do back in the day. I only saw it on TV, but what is it like that makes that different?
I think it's a commitment to the throw, like that. If one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch is Drew Brees, and the thing that made him so special to me is they ran a ton of 4 verticals, and so he would really be able to hit his from the gun, hit his third step, in rhythm and be able to rip, see that single high or two high look and be able to either rip that seam ball in there or the bender in there in rhythm. And when you do that, your receivers really, it creates a sense of urgency for them, and they know they have to be somewhere, and they can't be, you talk about completing those seam balls 18 to 22, 2 yards outside the hash in college. NFL's a little different. But when you get that confidence and that commitment from your quarterback that he's going to get his drop, great footwork, and rip this ball, then your ass has to get there as a receiver. And that starts to create this bond, the working kind of relationship between receivers and quarterbacks. And that's what it's all about. That's what Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, all those guys, that's what they do all summer. They work on that stuff because that is, that's what it comes down to. The timing is critical, and the commitment of the throw and the drop back is everything. That's what Bill Walsh, his in his book, he talks a lot about that. Is just it all starts with the quarterback's footwork. Everything, the footwork has to, the drop back. It has to be related to the routes. It has to be, and that's all they used to work on in the NFL. Like, imagine that. Like, you get to that level, and then they're just working on drops. That's it, because the timing has to be there. So it's not quite there. There's not quite that cohesiveness that you're seeing with UConn. And that's, that takes a lot of time, guys. We're talking about, the elite quarterbacks. But there's not that commitment. You don't see that confidence in his drop, in his throws. And that, kind of rubs off on the receivers. And the receivers don't have the confidence to be in that exact spot at the exact time the quarterback needs them to be there. And I think that's why they struggle a little bit.
Is there a system aspect to it too? Like, some guys, when they coach offense, like, they overburden the quarterback with things that doesn't allow him to feel free to just throw the ball. And now, I don't know that obviously we're not there with UConn, so we don't know what there is in it. But is there sometimes, like, in places you've been, like, where you're like, wow, these guys are really able to fire, and then you've been other places where they kind of controlling the quarterback a little more, and then that might limit them? Is that something that could that potentially could happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 100%. Cully and I were actually just texting about this. I was just watching helping a lot of guys out, evaluating some quarterbacks, on the side here. And that's exactly what it is. When you watch some of these high school kids, there's one receiver they're looking at, and they're throwing the ball to that guy. They don't look anywhere else. So there's no, so that's, obviously a single receiver read, but then you have a high-low read, hey, we're going to high-low the corner and run a smash concept, or we're going to horizontally stretch or read the Sam linebacker. That's like kind of the next level. And then you have your progression reads, like, okay, we're going to read 1, 2 on this side, and then we're going to come back to 3 on this side. So those things those are high level. When you get to the progression reads, triangle reads, things like that, those things are high level in terms of a quarterback being able to make decisions and throw the ball on time. And I don't think they're there yet. I don't think Nick is quite there yet. He can certainly get there, but you got to work on that stuff, and it takes time to develop.
And Joe and I talked about this too. Like, I don't know how many route concepts they run even at the college level now that they do true full field reads on. I mean, when I was there, mostly we did half field reads based on the coverage. You had a cover 2 or a cover 3 beater on one side and a man beater on the other side. So he would kind of know which side he was going to go to based on the coverage or the safety rotation. Do you think that they operate with full field reads?
I saw one full field read last night. They ran that trips formation you talk about with the nub tight end and the back, and then 3 receivers to the field. They ran a smash concept with the tight end and the back. So he's just high-lowing that corner, and he threw the ball. Yeah, so it's back? Like he threw it to the back, but he had the crosser coming over and then the dig coming on top of that. So he can go 1-2, high-low 1-2 to the drag to the dig coming on top. So there's your kind of full field read. But just they only ran that once, and that takes that's a great concept. I love that concept. But to be able to get to your third and fourth read on that is going to take some, one, you got to have good protection, and two, you got to have just the awareness to sit in the pocket, be confident and deliver a dig or a drag coming across from the other side.
Yeah.
It makes a ton of sense.
No, that's what I saw. I know the exact play you're talking about. He got the ball to the back right in the flat. It was 5 out, and he could have gotten the ball a little bit deeper. There was another one he had. I think it was a deep crosser that he missed. But if you look at his numbers, he has only passed for only over 100 yards twice. And in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that he's been in, he passed for before he got hurt 73 yards against Maryland. He was 135 against Duke, and his best game was Wake Forest, where he threw for 264. And then it was 128 against Rice, and 75 against Georgia State. So, I mean, that's 6 games. You would like to see a little more progression by now. And Figiano still has 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions and 1,000 yards passing in his limited duty, which I think is funny.
Yeah, and I think Coach Schuman said this last week. He's Coach Samus is an offensive line coach. Obviously, he knows the run game inside and out. They're running the ball, excellent. They're doing a great job. I thought yesterday they did a great job just balancing the inside and outside zone. I thought that was really effective. That is it puts the linebackers can't play so hard downhill or can't be so sideline to sideline. I thought that was a really good wrinkle that they threw in there. A lot more inside zone with the split action, Cully, like you talked about last week.
My favorite play.
Yeah, so they did a great job mixing that in, and then the the RPO naked off of that, which was great. It's a great little 3-play complementary run game to RPO off of it. So I just think they're playing to their strengths, and they did a good job with that. They're really killing the run game, and I believe you guys are right. You're going to have to throw the ball to beat Syracuse. You're going to have to do that. So, where they go or how they do it. A lot of teams do use a 2-quarterback system. I don't know.
Dave, what did you think defensively? Because they had played really staunch defense the last few games, and this one they kind of they gave up a lot of points. For them to give up 27 points is unusual, especially for how they've been playing all season long. They were doing a lot of the odd stack look, and they were trying to bring pressure up the middle. They ran some of that cross X where they'd bring both inside linebackers and slant the nose. They did some zone blitzing, but they didn't pressure as much as I had seen in the past. Did you see that as well?
Well, I think Georgia State's passing attack is a more effective passing attack. And I think, being able to get some of these quick throws off minimizes that. The other thing that Georgia State does a good job of is, the fact that we're not bullets at the corners is something that you can exploit a little more. So I think we're the defensive back, like I think against running game, even though they ran the ball fairly effectively against us too. I think that in the passing game, we have a hard time covering for any length of time. And I just think it's just, we're decent speed wise. We're not bullets, I think our defensive back play has been very good. It's just that speed becomes a factor. And I'll get I've said this from the beginning, when you play any of these larger school teams, group of 4 teams, or in this case, and then you play in a team from the South, it's going to have a little more speed. Okay. In the skill position areas, that's going to be an issue, especially if they have a quarterback that can put the ball, effectively completing the ball. And I think that was a little bit an issue. I thought that's been an issue from the get-go. The thing that I thought we did a decent job was we were able to score, to manage that part of it much better in the past when, we get into funks on offense when all of a sudden then we can get behind and we're playing catch up. But that I thought we managed fairly well. But I think that's going to be an issue. Anytime you play in any of these, either school down south in the whatever you call them, group of 5, and then in the Power 4 conferences, any of those Power 4s, they're probably going to have a little faster guy than we're used to playing. And that's going to be something we're going to have to manage. And that there's, sometimes it comes down to, Jimmy's and Joe's a little bit. And that's some of the things that I thought we managed that well, though, to be honest. I thought we managed that pretty well. And that's where you're going to get into a little bit of a shootout. I would say that's a little bit of my concern again when we go against Syracuse. That's going to be probably a little bit of a concern when we have to go against them. We have to manage the speed element of the game.
Joe, the one thing I wanted to ask you was, whenever we played against a team that blitzed, they would play zone behind it. You'd see, 33 or 24 or 42, whatever kind of zone. We play man behind our blitzes. Isn't that somewhat unusual?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really it's because of the offensive styles now. 100%. Zone blitzing was the thing back when we were in college. But now with your RPO and your quick game, the quarterbacks have the ability to just pull that thing out and rip it anywhere. So if you want a zone blitz, you might get caught on a slant for a touchdown. It happens that fast. So it's easier to just, press up on a guy, man up, or play, man from off. But you're not giving up the easy throws or the quick completions and things like that. And having, you remember, the America's blitz, you drop that defensive end out, you're not dropping, that type of stuff. You're having the end drop out into, play zone coverages, so I think teams are, a lot more, because of the RPO, are a lot more willing to play man and just say, hey, screw it. You're gonna have to throw the ball over our head, but we're not giving up the quick completion that's gonna maybe go to the house.
That's a big thing with the RPO. Joe's point is that so man against RPOs is very effective if you can cover for a certain amount of time, because you're coming after him, you're putting the guy in his face right away, and he's going to make a lot more mistakes. If you sit in zone against the RPO, it's easy. It's easy peasy. You know what I mean? So that may be a little bit more of it. If these teams are running RPOs, man is much more effective if you can cover against it.
100%. So what we used to do, Coach Schuman, we would have I don't know if I invented this, but I thought it was pretty unique. We would do RPOs with man concepts on the outside. So like rub routes.
Because really?
When teams would play man, they're going to get an extra guy in the box. So you're always going to be outnumbered. So you're 6 for 6 pass game. So we have 6 with a tight end to block 6 on defense. Well, in man, they have that the guy that's playing the tight end is the 7th guy. So you're outnumbered. But you can't throw any of your RPO concepts because who the hell you're reading? You read, there's no read there.
Yeah.
So we would put rub concepts on the outside. So like either rub for a little, like what we call a lookie going inside, and we'd rub, going like this, or we'd rub the other way for the out route, things like that. And then if the quarterback just saw man coverage, he was pulling and throwing, and we try to create a little friction, a little rub. It actually worked pretty good for us, but then you're dealing with all, then you have to worry about the rub concepts that you're running, and the refs throwing flags on that, because they always screw that up. Any contact, they screw it up. But it was good for us, especially on third down.
Is that what's taught now? If you are running an RPO and you do get man coverage, it's going to be a throw?
Well, what we would do if it was man coverage and you get an RPO, we'd either work the single receiver side. So like if it was a 3-by-1, we work the single receiver side. And, usually we would call that a gift. So it's like either it's a hitch or it converts to a fade, if you get pressed. So if you get man coverage, you're outnumbered in the box, hey, let's take a shot. Maybe try a back shoulder. Maybe try to get a chunk there. So yeah, you're outnumbered. So you gotta throw the ball in man coverage. In your RPO game, you're going to be outnumbered
because they put the extra guy in the box. I see what you're saying.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying, because that was one of my favorite. It wasn't really an RPO, but I would have the dead tight end, the 3 receivers. I had shotgun, speed motion the back out of the backfield, and read the front side inside linebacker. If he ran with the back and the speed motion, then I'd run the quarterback draw. The backer stayed, I'd throw the speed, the flat route to the running back. And, if you got 3-on-3 to the outside or 2-on-3, the back's got to make somebody miss. And those are easy concepts that I think Nick would be able to execute if they're primarily doing a lot more of the RPO game. See, I had no idea that the naked was an RPO. I didn't know that's how they were running it.
Yep.
So that makes sense now with how they were playing it, because I couldn't understand why they weren't getting any flow from the backside defensive end. Yeah. So I think if they
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think if they put it in with the outside zone concept, they'd get more flow, and then you could still RPO it. Is that possible to do or no?
Well, the difference with the outside zone, nobody really runs the split flow with outside zone. Like you don't really look the tight end back on outside zone, because the ball's not going to cut back there. Yeah. So it's more of an inside zone thing. So this, you guys remember when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl? Was that 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
This is what Jalen Hurts. This is what they did. They bring that tight end back on the bluff course into the flat. They'd have the X receiver run like a little banana route. So you're getting your high-low there. And then, some people can block. You can block the front side receivers, or you can run those guys on crossers too. Right. So it really creates a lot of confusion. But that's what they were doing yesterday. Inside zone with the bluff action, and high-low with another receiver coming across. And it's good. That's good, simple football. Like that is what Evers can execute, and he did a great job.
And that's like an inverted smash almost, if you run it that way, right? With the
exactly what it is.
The banana.
It's exactly what it is. But then sometimes the corner will come off.
Right.
He might trap and try to get and try to take that tight end, and then the safety's thinking run ball because he's getting run action, and now you get that banana route for a touchdown.
Right.
So it's really good, man. It keeps everybody honest. So what we did, Cully, this was another wrinkle that I love that we were doing at Cornell. We would be under center, and we would just run those guys on routes. Like we would call routes, like because we ran so much naked and boot and stuff like that. We would just have the receivers run routes, and it kept all the DBs occupied. It was great.
Yeah, you ran people off. Yeah,
you just run them off, or you run them on like they're naked paths, and then they can't add into the run game. So it's kind of like the inverse of the RPO. Yeah, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like all that stuff. I like all that stuff. But would you say that offensively, the last few games, the evolution of our offense. We are getting better. We are getting to the point where, we're 6-3, 3 games left. 8 wins, 9 wins is very possible.
Yeah. I think the second half of the Rice game, really, the first half was garbage. But the second half of the Rice game, they turned it up. They played hard. And I thought this, like Dave was saying, there was a lot of speed on that field. Georgia State had some athletes. There were some players.
They did.
And so it was great competition. I felt like there was great energy. And their offense is definitely getting better. They're honing in on what they're good at and what their players are good at. Like, that's the whole thing. It's not what we know as coaches. Who cares? Yeah. It's what the players know and what the players can execute. So I thought that was. I think they're getting better. And you're right, though. They're going to have to throw the ball better to beat these teams. They're not always going to have a lead and things like that. So it's it's a work in progress, but they're getting better.
Dave, what do you think as far as like UAB? We're going down there to play them. We're probably going to have better weather. Maybe the passing game will be more efficient, more productive, and we'll see Nick Evers explode. Do you think that's possible? Or do you think he's still going to be a little hesitant on making some of those throws?
Well, I mean, UIB is terrible. So, I think he's going to have to. I think this would be a great game for him, to be honest, because UIB is awful. Yeah. So, they're going to have an opportunity to really kind of, they're probably going to run the ball to death and, and get out of there crushing them in that style. But yeah, I mean, listen. If they don't dominate UAB, I'll be shocked. UAB is a terrible team. He has very little over there. And I don't know, I don't know what the whole situation is. Obviously, that's what Trent Dilfer, right? I think is the head coach there.
Yeah. Since they brought the program back, though, weren't they doing well at one point because I know they shut the program down. And then I know they brought the program back a couple years ago. I thought they had been doing better. Is that inaccurate misinformation, as Joe D would call me out on?
I thought they were bad. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong.
No, they are this year. I
think they were bad last year.
Oh, they were okay.
I want to say they were 4-7 last year or something like that.
Yeah,
but I will go to the fact checking here to make sure. But
Joe D fact check me.
But yeah, I honestly I'm pretty sure they're bad. We're bad.
Yeah, no, they I mean, especially this year, they lost to Army, Navy, USF. Tulane dropped 71 on them. I know Tulane's pretty good, and they're actually coming off a win against Tulsa. They beat Tulsa 59-21.
Then Tulsa is terrible.
I didn't know if Tulsa was terrible. Yes, Tulsa's 3-6. Yep, Tulsa is not. They're not world beaters. Yep, I agree with you there. But yeah, I didn't know Georgia State was a Sun Belt team either. Yeah. So that's a Sun Belt team. Do you know what conference Rice was in? Oh, Rice was American. Okay.
Yeah.
Rice was American.
Tulsa's in there too, right?
Yeah. Yes. Tulsa's there. Tulane's there. Okay. So those are the big ones. Those are who we've beaten. And then Syracuse we have, and then UMass is the only other independent who will no longer be an independent after this year going into the MAC. And hopefully we will get a sniff. If we finish 9-3,
UAB was 4-8 last year.
Okay, they were 4-8, so they haven't been great since the program has returned. But I mean, we're three wins in a row.
They gave themselves the death penalty. So.
And then we got three games coming up. God, I still can't picture. Like we could end up with 8 wins. We could be 8-4, and that would be tremendous going into the basketball season, and hopefully get us into a conference. Hopefully that model should get us into a conference with basketball's performance. If not this year, then next year. Because I didn't know that, BC has been a staunch blocker of us for the ACC. I don't think the Big 12 is the best fit because of the logistics. But at this point, Dave, do you think it really matters logistically? Oh, he's on mute. Joe, do you think it matters logistically?
Do I think it matters what? Do I think it matters if
the Big 12 took us logistically, do you think it matters? Because, it's going to be a ton of travel. Or it's just we got to go. It doesn't matter.
Well, I think if we can get a big conference, we have to go, right? I mean, isn't that the deal there?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I can't see that we're
not going to turn anyone down. I get that.
No. I mean, we have to go. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. But like, obviously, you'd want to be in the ACC, but who knows if there's going to be an ACC? So, the whole thing is fluid. Eventually, there's just going to be 2 conferences anyway. So, I don't know why we do this whole charade. But
if Tennessee
be SEC East, West, North, and South, and then it's going to be Big 10 East, West, North, and South, and
if Clemson and Florida State win the lawsuit and they're able to leave and go to the SEC, do you think that spells the demise of the ACC, or do you think that opens up a spot for us and maybe somebody else to join the ACC?
Oh, it probably opens up a spot. Absolutely. Okay. And I think they would look to us at that point. I think that, the whole conference thing is going to be like, everyone eventually is going to want to be is going to want to be SEC or Big 10, no matter what happens here. And I know Big 12 is doing a great job of really pushing everything to that guy's really like working very hard at that. But I just see that it's eventually going to be all, this is just like a 5-year charade until they get to, like what I said, either some of these conferences are going to go away, or maybe there's going to be 3 of them. I don't know. Maybe Big 12 is one of the 3, but it's going to be like everybody's going to be in like 2 or 3 conferences, and it's just going to be, the other ones are going to be left in the dust, and they're going to be playing whatever schedule they're playing. I just don't see how it's not going to go that way. They're already going to eliminate sports, a lot of 3,000 to 5,000 Olympic sports. Money business. Once it becomes a business, there's only so much money. If you're giving money here, it takes away from,
somewhere. It's got to go take away from somewhere.
So if you're moving it to players, which is cool, I know the NAL is doing that. If there's an arms race for facilities, those things cost money. Donors give money for that, defer some of that cost, but you're spending more to get more. You have to continue to spend, right? So that's why you have to eventually if you want to make any money in football, okay, you have to be able to be in one of those big conferences, because otherwise you have to consciously say that I'm not in this arms race, because there's no other way around it. I don't see any other way. Like, if you're competing with Amazon and Walmart and you're opening up, and your Target, and you're opening up a big box, do it all a chain, you either have to be able to go all in, or you're going to be, I'm the guy down the street and I just want to make about $1 million in revenue. That's all I could do. Because if you're going to jump and compete on the highest level, you got to spend. You got to be able to, there's no way around it. You
can't be half pregnant.
Could do it, by the way, if they wanted to. And I wonder if Joe would confirm this. The group that could do it, if they really wanted to, is the Ivy League. Their endowments are insane.
Oh, yes.
They would never do it. They would never do it.
Academics, yeah, they wouldn't
But
want to
if
do
they
it.
wanted to play
They
that
could.
game, nobody could spend, especially the big three, like Harvard, Yale,
HYP,
Princeton,
yeah.
nobody could spend more than they could spend. Nobody. But yeah,
that's a great point, man. Coach, you hit that on the head.
That is so true.
If they let the Ivy League in, then I really think that Harvard, Princeton, Yale would start winning national championships again. 100%.
Yeah.
Like
nobody says no to them.
Nobody says no. It's just like we talked about last week. People that go there use their name, image, and likeness for their resume. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
And they have the stadiums that, I mean, they're not as big as some of the biggest ones, but they're pretty big.
Harvard's are, yeah.
If Harvard opened up and said, Deion Sanders, you're going to come over here and we're going to pay you $30 million a year to coach. And Shador, we're going to give you $15 million a year to be your quarterback. And we're going to surround you with 5 Travis Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
The Ohio State wide receiver, Travis Hunter, the kid from Alabama, Ryan Williams. And we're going to surround you with those guys. And we're going to pay each of them $10 million, which is a drop in the bucket for Harvard, okay? Literally a drop in the bucket. Like, you're talking trillions of dollars in potential endowment, right? I'm telling you, they would roll everybody. That's my opinion. They would roll. All these kids would be like, wait a minute, I'm going to get a Harvard degree, okay, or associate, even if they don't finish from Harvard. I'm associate for the rest of my. I mean, does anyone say, oh, Bill Gates didn't graduate from Harvard, Mark Zuckerberg didn't graduate from Harvard? Everybody knows they went to Harvard, even though it was only for a year or two, whatever it was. You know what I mean? They went to Harvard, right? So that's the same thing there. It wouldn't matter if Shador was there for 2 years, if Travis Hunter was there for 2 years. They'd be walking around saying with Harvard.
Yeah.
And the alumni would love that. That's all they want to do. They will pour their money. And you talk about an organized alumni base. I've never seen anything like it. It's unbelievable. It's a machine. Those guys are so organized, so good, and they're great guys. They would love that. That's all they want. But
they run the world.
They do.
Their endowment is bigger than country.
Run the world. Outside of a few people, right? They run the world, man. They could garner any reason. But I would love to see it happen, just because I would love for people like almost them to just go and do a oh, you guys think you really like raising a lot of money? You guys think that you could you want to see someone really go and do it? Here you go. Here's $1 billion to spend.
By
the way, we still have $999 billion left, but here's $1 billion for you guys to play with your team. Go play with it with your football team.
Joe, if and when you are back into coaching, will any of this play a factor into looking at schools and where you apply and where you would take your next job? The whole NIL situation, the transfer portal, the conference situation, teams moving around. Is that going to would that play a difference in the school you would apply to or look at to, get a job?
Yeah. I mean, it's why you see a lot of coaches getting out of the game now. Like it's just not college football anymore. You're having to deal with so many other off the field issues that aren't football related. And it's coaching is already 2 full-time jobs in one. You're a full-time coach and you're a full-time recruiter. And then to add on top of that, now you got to be, somewhat of an agent or whatever to deal with all this NIL and all this money. You're adding another full-time job on top of that, which is stressful and the numbers.
And you don't have July off. No July off anymore.
You have no time off. So I think it definitely plays a part into that decision. And, it's just it's not really a sustainable lifestyle. And, it's really a young man's game, to be honest with you. It's guys that aren't married, that don't have kids. Those are the guys that can make a huge jump now. But guys that are married with kids, I mean, if you don't want to see your kids, you don't want to see your wife or piss your wife off, then sure, go ahead. But not a lot of guys want that.
No. I remember the famous Tom Gilmore line when he brought me on. Your wife is going to be a widow and your kids will be orphans. Just so you know, this is what you're going to just be prepared for that. That was his favorite. That was his famous line. So at least we had a good week. We got the W. That's all that counts. We are going to have a great opportunity to go to Alabama and light it up and get our 7th win, which will get us into a better bowl game. And then really the season's going to come down to Syracuse. That's going to be the game that will make the difference. How we do in that game, impress some of the conferences. And if we can play well and put it all together, Syracuse, they've come down to earth somewhat the last couple weeks. So who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen, right, David?
Anything can happen. Who knows? Listen, I think Syracuse is beatable.
I do too.
You know, one of the great things about football to me is when a team's rolling and they seem unbeatable, and then the team goes and beats them. Okay, when Syracuse got beat, and then everybody grabs that film and replicates.
Copycat. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what makes football so great, because you have to, like, as an OC, you have to understand that that's what they're going to replicate, dude. They're going to, whatever just stopped you and forced you into, like Pittsburgh did to them, and that's what's going to be coming from that point forward until you show that you can beat that. And then when you beat that, then guys will adjust to it. But I think that's what's so great football-wise. Like, I've always, if I was, like, struggling to beat a team, and then all of a sudden I see a team beat them and that I thought I was comparable with, or that, I like had the same kind of guys as them, and they beat them and beat them soundly. I'm like, I need that film because I want to see what they did there and see if I can replicate that. If I can copy that and do that to them, and they have to figure out another way to beat somebody, they may not be able to do that. Like, I call it the Cam Newton, right? When Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl, Cam Newton was tearing up the NFL.
Yeah, that was it.
The Denver Broncos went and they just got after him, and he was kind of more of a one read guy, and he wasn't able to take off, and they kept him,
Von Miller.
Yep, Von Miller, and he just got sacked, and then he got frustrated, and that from that point forward, that was the beginning of the end of Cam Newton, because everybody played him almost the same exact way, and he was never the same.
Yeah,
he never the same, right? I mean, so it's hard, I think, for a quarterback, even a great one, if they're used to doing certain things really, really well, and then a team figures something out and they stop them. Psychologically, it's difficult if they keep seeing it over and over and over again. You know what I mean? I'm joking. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's one of the things that I think is great for UConn. They've seen Syracuse get beat in a dynamic fashion
twice,
and someone else has done the same thing to them, and now it's like, how could we do that? How could we do something within our system similar to that to stop them?
Or you go and you hire Connor Stallions to come on your staff and steal their signs. That'd be my next move. Connor, you got a job, buddy.
Great hire.
Great. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. So
there's jobs out there for those guys, man.
Oh
yeah. There's 40 million people. That's what Joe D was saying on the other show. Joe D was saying he's looking through our staff. He's like, there's 100 people on the football staff. He's like, what is going on here? And it's just crazy. But I think we're going to beat UAB. And I think this season is going to end strong. And I think these kids play hard. They're tough. They play with grit. They have a never say die attitude. And I love that about them. They play hard for this coaching staff. Coach Mora, exceptional. Brock, exceptional. The OC, work in progress.
All right, hold up before we go, because you want to go. I know you want to go, and I know Joe wants to go. We never asked the question about the OC from the sky versus on the sideline.
Oh, yes.
I am curious about it. I am curious because I never thought that was a thing other than the head coach calling the plays from the sideline with a guy up top, right? Is that an uncommon thing for the OC not to be up top?
Well, it's yeah. I mean, you want me to go, Cully, or you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious. I really don't know the answer to that.
I wasn't an OC, so Joe knows best.
Okay. Well, here's what I know. In the NFL, you want to be an OC on the field. That gives all the other owners a chance to see your face and potentially hire you as a head coach.
Really?
That's what I do know. Yes. That's 100% a thing. So NFL, those guys want to be on the field. Me personally, in terms of calling plays, I liked to be removed from the emotion of it. I didn't want to be on the field, where guys coming off the field, saying, this and that right to you. I'd rather be away from it, very organized. I got my sheet in front of me. I don't have any weather, wind, all this stuff coming down on me. I like that. Let the assistant coaches deal with all the nonsense. Hey, I can beat them on this. I got this, and then they can filter it and get it to me. Perfect. I'll be up there and I'll add that into my next progression on my calls, and we go from there. You keep it organized. And then to me, the other thing that I didn't like, because I was on the field for 4 games, because I had a new quarterback. Like you said, Coach, it's almost like a high school thing. You want to be next to your players. I had a new quarterback that we were breaking in. So I was like, I'll stay on the field with him and just be there with him. I could talk to him. I could show him what I'm thinking about for the next drive, this and that. But I didn't get a good feel for like the, are we moving? Is the line of scrimmage moving? Are we getting a nice surge up front? Down in distance, hash, things like that. You're always you're relying on somebody else to tell you that. And then you're really relying on somebody else to give you the defensive structure, especially the back end. So I never really felt comfortable down there. Like, am I getting the right information? Is it 3rd and 1 or is it 1st and 10 type of stuff? And up top, I felt like I had a good feel and I could see that, especially from a scouting standpoint. I could see what they're doing. I could see how those safeties are rotated and tilted and all that stuff. And I felt like on the field, I didn't really have that great info. Now they have the notepads that you can look at, which is
the iPads.
So the colleges have now the notepads on the sidelines
and the helmet thing. You can talk in the helmet.
So it doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's why I thought the one thing with the NFL, because you have the surfaces that you're able to look. I mean, I guess it's post haste, but you're able to at least look at everything right away. So maybe it isn't as huge a deal being on the field. But I didn't realize that college has all the guys with stuff now on the field. So maybe it's not as big a deal as it once was. I just always assumed that in college guys were up top. I didn't even realize that guys would go, unless it was the head coach calling the plays, that guys would go. Because I saw Chip Kelly when they won Ohio State, he came down, right? That was him coming down from up top when he was celebrating with him, right? He wasn't on the sideline when he was coming down from up top, so he still goes up top to get that kind of a thing. So it's really interesting. It's interesting how the game evolves from, because it didn't even dawn. It wouldn't even have dawned on me that in college you would be an OC on the sidelines, unless there was, like what you said, a new quarterback, someone you had to get comfortable with, somebody, but like just on a regular basis. That's interesting.
I understand the UConn OC wanting to be on the sideline because he's the O-line coach. So he's got to talk to his guys in between series.
That might be a part of it too, yeah.
But I don't think you can effectively coach and call plays without being up top.
Well, the passing game.
The eye in the sky tells you everything.
The passing game is where it's more of an. I think the run game, especially O-line coaches are probably they're probably used to standing in a certain position, seeing where it is, kind of having a good feel for it. I don't know, but he probably thinks he has a good feel for it. But yeah, I mean, the passing game, it has to be hard to see. Like, I mean, when you're up there, dude,
You can see it all.
It's incredible, dude. Yeah. It's literally like you're, just like, those drone shots you see. That's what it's like. You're like, oh, you're playing chess, dude. You're basically playing chess.
But Dave, the most important thing to me being up in the press box was the press box food. I would rank the press boxes by food.
That's
the
pretty
spread
cool.
that each food put out. Harvard had the best clam chowder I've ever had in my life.
Right. They had clam chowder up there.
I had bowls and bowls of it. Princeton, best chili ever had in my life, hands down.
Princeton had that boxed lunch too. Remember, that was great.
Yes.
Big cookie in there.
Oh, fresh baked cookies. And then Lafayette had the sandwiches. They had these mini sandwiches. They were unbelievable. I could do a podcast just on press box food. That's the only reason I wanted to be up top was for the press box food. Just
hey, write a book about it, man.
You should.
There's a guy on the Howard Stern show that wrote a book about fast food through press box.
All I cared about was the food in the press box. I wanted a good spread in the press box. That's it. And then I could take my pants off and coach in my shorts. I like doing that too. I take my pants off. I put my mesh shorts on, and I just chill. And I throw a big dip in, big red man, big chaw. And once I spilled my dip cup on the offensive coordinator's play sheet, and he I don't know how he didn't have a conniption, but he did after the game. He didn't at the moment. After the game, he had a conniption.
That's
a cup on his play sheet. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing though that I started doing is you can do it in the Ivy League, but the away press boxes, they give you nothing. Like you're on top of each other.
You're on top of each other. Yeah.
Guys are spilling dip and shit all over you. So what I would start doing, especially you could do it in the Ivy League, I would go sit like in the stands.
In the stands, yes. Get away from everyone.
Our D coordinator there was so loud and crazy. I mean, he'd be screaming. I'm trying to call plays and screaming at the defense, on the headset. So I couldn't focus. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go sit, and I would go sit on a different level of the press box. Some of those press boxes aren't even filled. Yeah, and we beat Penn. I was sitting in the stands. We beat Penn one year. I'm sitting in the stands. It was awesome.
You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Great. That's great.
You can't beat it. Well,
oh man,
this has been another exceptional Husky Huddle. You get the best UConn football coverage here. The best team in the world. Who can beat us? Who can beat us? We have the coach, Dave Schuman, the other coach, Joe Villapiano, former UConn player, and myself, the best podcast and radio host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.